fouls against the Cougars, against 7 for Washington. John Brockman.
Okay, Baines. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Baines was not complaining about the foul. What he was complaining about was he said Brockman hooked me with the elbow as he spun.
Honestly, it looked like that to me as well, but the call came from the other side. The official was inside the baseline, and we've got a very different angle here up on the television deck. Tony Bennett takes 30 seconds.
Well, I think Baines did the same thing to Wallace when he scored down there. He hooked him a little bit with his elbow, so they get very good at that.
Speaking of fouls, did you hear about, or did you see the Oregon State-Arizona women's game the other night? First of all, the Wildcats only had 6 players. Then foul trouble. They have 4 for the last minute and a half in the first overtime. Then they lose one early in the second OT, and with a minute left in that second extra, they wind up with 2 players on the floor because the last woman falls out. Oregon State, LaVonda Wagner, our friend from the WNBA broadcast here on the network, is probably losing the hair she's got, thinking, I can't lose to these guys. We got 5, they got 2. And still Arizona, one of the best women's teams in the Pac-10, makes it a 6-point game. Brockman 1-1, misses the first.
Well, they must have gone into that zone you don't see very often, a 1-1.
Yeah. Hey, you know, it's a forfeit if you're down to 1 player, because you have to have somebody to inbound the basketball to. Shot clock is off. Cougars are playing for the last, trailing by 3. Rochester looking for the setup. Harmeling was either going to set a pick or take it. He's left alone. Washington briefly left the middle open. Here's Lowe. Off the glass, off the iron, and out of the nets. No basket. And a 3-point lead for Washington, which, I don't know, Angie Mentink and Dwayne Casey at our College Hoops Northwest studio. I think the Huskies defense has got to be the story of the first half.
Yeah, I think you're right, Brian. A huge day of college hoops here on.
Aware of Sonics basketball. Every week, go behind the scenes with the Soups on Sonics All Access. This week, we go one-on-one with Wally Zerbiak.
My dad played professionally over in Spain for 10 years. He played with Real Madrid, won numerous European titles, and was a very, very good player. He retired at the age of 32.
And a special look at the top 5 guards in Sonics history. Sonics All Access, Monday night at 7 on FSN.
Shades of the days when they didn't have the shot clock and you could just hold the ball. 20-17, first half stats thusly.
Well, you know, my only prediction for the second half is it's not going to end up 40-34. I think both teams are probably going to start doing better. But Washington's doing a great job defensively, 26%. They're stopping the 3-point shooters from getting clean looks. Only 2 people are scoring, all but 4, but both teams are only scoring with 4 people.
You know, what's interesting is that usually Washington 8 and 19 from the floor. Cougars opponents average 50 field goal attempts a game. Cougars had 23 field goal attempts in the first half. Washington has allowed its opponents an average of 55 shots a game. So you could argue that the Huskies are playing Cougar basketball at the defensive end.
Well, they certainly are. They play great defense. As I say that, they finally slip one inside. Weaver's a good. He plays like the game like a point guard. He really reminds me of Nate McMillan because he's a tall defensive guard that has a sense of being a point guard.
Baines now with 11 points, first guy into double digits. Not very pretty as Brockman lost control, and then the ball bounced off of Cowgill out of bounds. Jim Duran, the official on the call, giving the Huskies possession with 22 seconds to shoot.
Yeah, nice block on Brockman, and then Cowgill was actually, his feet were out of bounds when he touched that ball.
Appleby shut down. Ryan Appleby only managed to get 2 shots off in the first half. So Washington's version of instant offense has been shut down by Washington State. Morris takes the runner into the lane, scores left-handed. Strong move by Tim Morris, who also now is in double figures. 7 games as a starter. He's hit double figures scoring in each of those 7 games.
And comes in with a little left-handed finesse hook. Good drive.
There's something else that the Cougars have not done. They average 20-plus free throws a game. They only had 5 in the first half, and Baines working here on Wallace off the block. Baines had all 5 of those.
Well, you get free throws by penetrating. Nobody's been able to penetrate the Husky defense tonight.
9 rebounds now for John Brockman. Comes into this ball game averaging 18 and 11, 4 consecutive double-doubles. Morris on his giddy-up scores +1.
All right. I would not be surprised on the next possession to see Weaver guarding Morris.
Tim Morris scored 7 consecutive points for Washington to help the Huskies establish leads as wide as 7, and has gotten to work here in the first couple minutes of the second half. Morris sitting on 13 points, trying to give the Huskies a 6-point lead. Weaver the rebound. Washington State does a great job of rebounding dead balls. Weaver just showed you why.
That's right. You got 2 big guys inside, and then you got a guy that's 6'6" that can jump, coming in from the top position.
Weaver feeding Baines to the post, goes to work, spins one way, then the next, and floats one down. Aaron Baines. We talked to a lot of people here in Seattle this week about what is different about Washington State, or what stands out. And people consistently, Husky players and staff said, talking about all those other guys, you have got to start the conversation with Aaron Baines.
Well, he has definitely developed this year.
And he gets a piece there of Artem Wallace. They got a piece of the ball, but then got a piece of Wallace. And Artem Wallace has had an adventure at the free throw line this year, but he's been working very, very hard on correcting that. He's only 1 out of 10 on the season. And he's getting the same kind of buzz here from the student section, that, you know, the guys that never come off the bench until the waning moments of blowout games. He gets the same kind of treatment from the crowd here, and he shows you why.
And, Baines has to go sit down after getting that foul. He's got 2. They don't want to get him in trouble. He's got 3. I'm sorry, 3.
Wallace. Well, Brockman has his 10th rebound, but just no touch on that. Just threw the ball at the glass. And Robbie Calgill has that same kind of complete game that Tim Morris does for the Huskies. Calgill starts the Cougars up the floor, and then Morris made contact. Calgill nearly wound up in the lap of a couple of Bennett's assistant coaches, and the official ruling that he got there with a little help.